just when you thought the roller coaster ride was over, oh no, no, no. Russia 2.0 has started. Now, technically, some might say Russia never ended. Obviously, they've started trying to link Tulsi Gabbard, as I've explained, to Russia recently. But no, Trump train is back in Russia, apparently. At least according to MSNBC and Lawrence O'Donnell. So, basically, Lawrence O'Donnell got some source close to Deutsche Bank, okay, who told him that Trump was actually really deep in bed with the Russians. He got some loans he couldn't have gotten any other way without having some Russian oligarchs sign on to those loans with him as co-signers. And if it hadn't have been for that, he wouldn't have got them. He broke the big story. Remember, Robert Mueller couldn't find this. No one else could find this. This is what Lawrence O'Donnell found. Let's just take a look at it, shall we?
And this single source close to Deutsche Bank has told me that Donald Trump's loan documents there show that he has co-signers. That's how he was able to obtain those loans. And that the co-signers are Russian oligarchs.
What? Really?
That would explain, it seems to me, every kind word Donald Trump has ever said about Russia and Vladimir Putin, if true. Obtain those loans without co-signers. The source close to Deutsche Bank says that the co-signers of Donald Trump's Deutsche Bank loans are Russian billionaires close to Vladimir Putin.
Okay, so first and foremost, if you've taken Rachel Maddow back with a story on Trump and Russia, considering Rachel Maddow was one of the most prominent voices on mainstream news media, promoting the whole Trump-Russia collusion, constant visitor of her program, people like Eric Swalwell, so they could talk about it also. If you're taking her back with it, yeah, dude, you're probably pretty full of crap, most likely. So, nonetheless, okay, this is what he said. Rachel Maddow seems surprised by it. Now, perhaps Rachel Maddow has finally started to come to grips with the fact there wasn't the kind of collusion or corruption that we were led for so long to believe that there was. Perhaps she's just genuinely starting to come to grips with that a little bit more now. It's possible, okay? But whether she has or whether she hasn't, she definitely promoted it and made it seem like it was a definite thing for so long, only for Robert Mueller to just say, yeah, well, we couldn't prove it. So, not really. Of course, then that's when they shifted the goalpost to obstruction of justice and so on and so forth. But the Russia collusion thing, couldn't find it. Okay? So, with that being said, obviously a lot of them have backed off the whole Russia topic, because if they don't, they're going to look like, a complete fool to anyone with half a brain. Unfortunately, not too many people these days are really using their brain when they're watching the news and doing their own research and figuring out, they're completely lying to us on a whole lot of other subjects, Russia one included, for example. But nonetheless, I want to emphasize something here. Since Trump was running for president and after Trump became president, how many times has he attacked the news media for either saying what he called fake news or whatever? Have they ever backed down from him? The answer to that, everything I've seen in regards to NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, and MSNBC, I have yet to ever see them issue an apology to Trump. The only exception may be ABC, where they reported that I think it was on Michael Flynn or whatever. It sent the stocks into a crash. It turned out to be complete fake news. But that wasn't necessarily an accusation at Trump. It kind of had implications that, oh, we've got Trump, but it didn't exactly, I guess you could say accuse Trump of something directly. So the apology wasn't exactly toward President Trump. Probably towards the stock market and everybody else who got affected by that news, but whatever, okay. So with that being said, no one's ever issued the apology to President Trump for anything he's called fake news before. They've never backed down. If he's had a fight with Jim Acosta, they all rallied around each other in complete support. And it's been shown on numerous occasions that all their, proper journalistic standards were not followed in numerous occasions, okay? Numerous occasions. They always, just like with Russia, our sources say, our sources say, our sources say, our sources say. And their sources all said something that turned out Robert Mueller said, yeah, can't prove it. So if their sources knew so much, why couldn't the man who actually had the real power to do an investigation find it? After all, I don't think anyone's saying he's in Trump's pocket. If he did, he would have made a determination on the obstruction of justice, and yeah, you probably wouldn't have heard anything. Okay? Robert Mueller's not in Trump's pocket. So, he certainly didn't owe anybody any favors, because you can't say he didn't do a thorough investigation on either one. Oh, I think he looked for everything possible. I really do think he did. Regardless of your opinion on Trump, he's not on Team Trump. So he was looking at every avenue possible. He couldn't get the Russia collusion issue together. Yet they harped on the news for a long time. Wouldn't retract anything, never issued an apology. And that is all very key, because I want you to take a look at this next clip, because this is monumental. Very monumental.
Last night on this show, I did not go through the rigorous verification and standards process here at MSNBC before repeating what I heard from my source. Had it gone through that process, I would not have been permitted to report it. I should not have said it on air or posted it on Twitter. I was wrong to do so. This afternoon, attorneys for the president sent us a letter asserting the story is false. They also demanded a retraction. Tonight, we are retracting the story. I apologize.
Some may look at that clip and use the cliche, hell just froze over. They apologize for running fake news about President Trump. Wow. I never thought I would see that happen at this point during this man's first term. Never thought I'd see it happen. I figured if he got elected for a second term, perhaps. Because at this point, they're just like, okay, screw it. We've thrown everything we can at the man, everything, including the kitchen sink, and these people just won't listen. Whether, you like him, you dislike him, whatever. Clearly he has fan base. Clearly they don't give a flying crap what we have to say about him. So, hey, screw it. We'll talk about some news for a change. Yeah, that won't happen because it doesn't draw ratings. Okay? So you can forget about real news on those networks because it's all about ratings and talking about the poor drinking water in Michigan. Well, that doesn't exactly churn up many ratings at all. Okay? So we got to get the money on the program. We got to advertise for Big Pharma. We got to advertise for Boeing and, Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin, tied in with the military industrial complex. Yeah, get that sponsorship in, man. And then we got to talk about some other things that draw in good ratings so that more people see our sponsors, more people see our program, blah, blah, blah. Even though, unfortunately, CNN's ratings actually have gone into the toilet, son. CNN is crap. And their ratings are reflecting it. And by the way, Ted Koppel owned old CNN doughboy Brian Stelter with that little fact when he was talking about how bad the ratings were. And old Brian Stelter was like, oh, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Our ratings are fine because we're talking about the real issues for the American people, Ted. Ted just took him to task like, yeah, son, sure. Okay. That was a nice story. So now shifting back to the clip you just watched. Apologized. Admitted it didn't go through proper journalistic standards and was wrong. Now they've had plenty of stories. They've been running on this Russia issue for the last 2 to 3 years. And many of them have turned out to be complete nothing burgers, complete false, complete unfactual crap. I haven't heard an apology like that for many of these. Really, I don't know that I've heard it for any of them. Like I said, I think I've heard the one from ABC about a year ago or so, maybe. But other than that, no, they don't apologize for the crap. I want you to think about that. How bad, how factually inaccurate, how much crap did this have to be? And you should have picked up on it to start with because Rachel Maddow almost fell out of her chair. Okay? How much crap did this have to be to literally the Trump legal staff send a cease and desist to MSNBC and say the story's false? They've said that over plenty of crap, that it's not true. They've been running with it. He said he didn't sleep with Stormy Daniels. They kept going with that. He said he didn't pay off Karen McDougal. They went with that. So why not keep going, Lawrence? Why not keep going, Lawrence? You've ran with everything else. Clearly, that was nothing but a big line of ratings bullcrap. Or you would not have made that apology. Clearly, whoever your source was must have been about as credible as the Clintons. Actually, probably less credible. I don't want to say that, but because I really hate the Clintons, but I got a feeling the Clintons are more credible than your source. Okay? So, it just shows everyone, man, this whole Russia thing, they're going to beat that horse to death. Beating a dead horse? Yeah, well, they're beating a dead horse, all right. They're not just beating it. There's about 5 people whacking it with big clubs, okay? They are riding this issue into the ground, and no one wants to hear about it anymore, but they keep talking about it because they have to push the propaganda to all the people out there and try to convince as many people as they possibly can that, this is nothing but a Russian agent in the White House, and anything else they can try to push on the table. Now, I will say again, like Trump, dislike Trump, it does not matter. Fact, and the problem here is the issue with the news media. And anytime, and see, I think this proves just how seriously and false this whole thing must have been. Anytime Trump has gone after the news media, and he's trying to tell them this is not false, I want you to take it down. Yeah, they never back off and they say one thing, oh, he's attacking the First Amendment. He's attacking the freedom of the press. You can't do that to us, sir. We have the freedom of the press, and we can say whatever we want to say about you. That's their attitude for the whole thing. That they can just say what they want and get away with it due to the First Amendment freedom of the press. And technically speaking, yes, First Amendment does give you the right to freedom of the press. However, in the news, you have an obligation to tell the truth. Not just say whatever you want to say. You need to say something with some factual basis behind it. You need to be covering more important topics that affect our society and our economy as a whole, not being a 24-hour episode of Inside Edition. That's not the kind of news we want to hear. Sure, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie got divorced. Wow! That gave so many more people their job back, right? No. Okay, Donald Trump may have slept with Stormy Daniels many moons ago. Oh my God, Flint, Michigan can drink clean water. That's the problem with the news media. And so when he actually has to go out and do it, and when Trump attacks him on it, they, oh, you're attacking our freedom of the press, sir. You don't have the right to do that. That's their quick response. And I would like to remind everybody, you really want to know who attacked freedom of the press. You need to go back to the previous president, because Trump badmouths the press. Trump talks a lot of crap about the press. Trump has tweeted some things about the press. And he's actually said some things that are fairly concerning for the press and for the First Amendment. He hasn't followed through on them. Now, President Obama was not as vocal about attacking the press in a lot of ways, but he did more actual things behind the scenes to attack the press. If you don't believe me, go look at that. Go look at that. I don't care what your stance is on Fox News. People say it's too far right-wing, doesn't do this, doesn't do that. But what are MSNBC and CNN doing when they have crap like this going on all the time? They're nothing but the left-wing version of what you're calling Fox News. And that's a propaganda network. Okay? So if you don't like Fox, you need to realize that the other side has just as much equal bias, just on their own political aisle. It's the same thing. There's nothing being changed there. But President Obama actually targeted Fox News and other reporters. Okay? Do your homework on that. So, all I got to say is if this is any kind of indicator, buckle up, because the Russia roller coaster is starting up for the next ride. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Independent Report. If you like the video, please give us a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Also, please subscribe to the channel, as we're trying to grow this channel to reach more and more people every day. And if you subscribe, be sure that you ring that bell so that you stay up to date and get notifications when we release new content. Also, please support us in the link below with our Patreon. We're trying to make this channel grow. Funds will be used to grow the channel and to reach more people. We appreciate your support, and we hope you tune in next time.